traveling alone can be amazing, but it makes you extra vulnerable for solo traveler scams. No matter how long you've been traveling, it's easy to get caught off guard like what I used to do with number 5 on this list. The best way to avoid getting scammed, including some potentially dangerous situations, is to be on the lookout for these following situations. Let's start with the most common scam in the book. Imagine walking through a bustling town square when a smiling man strikes up an innocent conversation with you and then tries to slip on a friendship bracelet onto your wrist. It'd be rude to reject his kindness, right? So you go along with it and let him slip the bracelet onto your wrist. As soon as it's triple knotted, nice and tight, that friendly man demands $10 for the free piece of string he just tied on your arm. And when you refuse, his friendly smile vanishes, he starts making a huge scene, and all of a sudden his big, intimidating friend comes to start harassing you into paying. This scam happens all over the world, whether it be a free photo, a free magazine, a free flower, or even a free meal. I want you to say this out loud right now. I will never accept gifts from complete strangers on the street, no matter how rude it makes me feel. Hello, sawadee krab. The same idea applies to free services. You have to be extra vigilant about this one because sometimes vendors can sneak up on you without you even noticing, and by then it's too late. My brother and I once visited Isla Baru in Cartagena, and we learned this lesson firsthand. We were relaxing on the beach and my brother was lying face down on his towel, when suddenly a lady pounced on his back, squirted lotion on him, and started rubbing his shoulders. Dazed and confused, he got up and started walking away, but the lady's hands were glued to his shoulders and she was yelling, "Free massage, free massage." After repeatedly telling her no, she wouldn't leave him alone, so he just let her give him the free massage. Little did she know that my brother does not tolerate BS, and he gave 0 fricks when she started freaking out at him for not paying for the free massage. In other parts of the world, another common trick is the free henna tattoo, where ladies start painting these tattoos on your arm without your consent. When you're with a group, these tricks aren't as intimidating. But as a solo traveler, it's easier to get cornered and to just pay to try to escape the uncomfortable situation. The next one may seem obvious, but people fall for it more than you think. Say you just arrived in this beautiful place and you found the perfect spot to take an Instagram photo that'll make everyone like you more. But you've just got one problem. Who's going to take your picture? Fortunately, a friendly local reads your mind and offers to be your cameraman. And the next thing you know, they're running off with your camera or phone. I know we want to believe that everyone is honest, but when you're traveling alone in a foreign country, you have to be extra careful who you trust. I'm not saying you can't trust anyone to take your photo, but before handing over your valuables, you might want to do a quick assessment and think, what are the odds that this stranger is going to take my phone and just book it? For example, if it's another person who is also there taking their own photos, the odds are probably pretty low. Another way to protect yourself is to use a travel insurance that covers your gear from theft, and I'll link to the one that we use below. Before we get into a more nefarious scam, give this video a thumbs up so the algorithm shows it to more travelers and helps them avoid these scams. I've also created a handy cheat sheet with all of these scams listed together that you can download for free in the description. Alright, so when you're walking in the streets in touristic areas, you're almost guaranteed to bump into these street touts or promoters that are trying to get people into the bar or club that they're promoting. Normally this is pretty harmless, but it's tricky to tell which ones are up to no good and which ones are being honest. So when you're traveling solo, it's safer to just ignore them and always choose your own venue. Again, may seem obvious, but when a friendly person standing in a touristic area says that they're offering a promotion for cheap or free drinks, which, let's be honest, is exactly what your little heart desires, then it can be tempting to give it a try. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Well, maybe nothing happens. Or maybe your small $20 bar tab magically turns into a $200 bar tab and a bunch of gangsters block the doors until you pay up, or even take you to an ATM. Or worse, those cheap drinks happen to be drugged and you wake up the next morning with no wallet and no recollection of what happened. I'm not trying to fearmonger here, I'm just trying to help you minimize risk when you're traveling alone in a foreign country. This is stuff you should be aware of and careful of, even in the United States. And bars aren't the only place that you need to be careful. Before meeting my wife, I traveled solo and I always wanted to meet the locals to learn about the local culture. But this can be tricky when you hop around from place to place every 2 or 3 days. The easiest way I found to do it was just to pop open Tinder and have matches waiting for me in the destination that I was going to as soon as I arrived. I actually made some awesome friends this way, but it can turn into a nightmare experience if you're not careful. I'm pretty sure that the only reason that I didn't have problems was because my priority was just to meet friends to practice Spanish. In other words, I wasn't looking for one-night stands, which is where things can get dangerous. Just do a quick YouTube search for Colombia Tinder danger and you'll see what I mean. Whether you're a man or a woman, always be careful with who you meet and where you meet them. I highly recommend meeting in public places during the daytime with no alcohol, at least during the first meeting when you're getting to know each other. And guys, just have common sense. Most normal girls don't publish overly provocative photos and ask to come up to your room right after meeting you. This should be a pretty obvious red flag. Before we get into one that really pulls at my heartstrings, make sure to share your scam experiences below to help other travelers. Okay, so this next one might sound a little bit cruel, but hear me out. In many places around the world, including in the US, adults use children and babies to panhandle for money. If you've ever seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire, where they blind the kid just to make him a more profitable beggar, that actually happens. Many crime syndicates around the world take advantage of children to make them beg on the streets. Then, at the end of the day, they collect the money for themselves. It's a growing problem, and this one literally breaks my heart, but just know if you give to child beggars, you're probably making their situation worse. The most effective way to help these children is to donate to a trustworthy charity. Next, when you're traveling alone, you're responsible for all of your stuff. That means the fewer the items you're lugging around, the less of a target that you'll be. The more compact and organized that you pack your things, the easier it'll be to keep an eye on everything. And the harder it will be for pickpocketing teams to distract you while the other one snags your stuff. Kind of like what happened to my friend who got her wallet and passport stolen at the airport. Speaking of the airport, most people don't realize that this is a scammer's paradise. If you want to avoid getting scammed before your trip even starts, watch this video next for clever airport scams that trick travelers every single day. Make sure to comment your scam experiences below and don't forget to follow Project Untethered on Instagram and TikTok for more bite-sized travel hacks. All right, guys, bye-bye.